This module is about job development. In the first demonstration, we see Galen, an employment specialist, trying to develop a job at a hair salon. I'm going to ask Debbie and David to introduce this demonstration.
Job development is one of the main strategies that employment specialists use to help people who want to work. Learning the skills of job development is difficult and when to use them well. We're going to see in this scene an employment specialist who's contacting an employer, a hair salon owner, to try and find out what jobs might be available.
And one of the things that helps employment specialists learn is good feedback from their supervisors about what they're doing with job development. As we look at this, maybe we could sort of take a picture of what we might give Galen feedback as a supervisor. Maybe look at some of the areas. What did he do to prepare for this? What are the preferences that the employer has about employees that she might hire there? What are her concerns potentially about this? And to make sure that we give Galen some feedback about some strengths and some of the things that we see that are positive in this demonstration. Let's take a look at that now.
Well, I suppose I have some time. Why don't you come on back? Would you like a cup of coffee?
No, I'm okay, thanks.
Okay, great. Well, listen, I have about 7 minutes. I have somebody under the dryer. So what can I do for you?
First, nice salon you have here.
Thank
I just
you.
wanted to comment on that. Amy, I just wanted to come by and see if you had any open positions in your salon for some work.
Well, we always have stylist openings. Do you work at a salon right now?
Oh, no, it's not for me. I'm sorry, Amy. I work for Chester Community Mental Health, and I help folks who've experienced some challenges in their life get back to work. I have someone that's interested in working in the salon, so I wanted to come by and see if you had any kinds of work available. Doesn't have to be a stylist position.
Okay. You know, it seemed the salon I worked at before, we had somebody working with us, a guy who was doing, I think, shampooing, and I don't remember a whole lot, but what I do remember is it really didn't work out. We had to let him go.
Oh, well, I'm really sorry to hear that. It doesn't sound like it was a very good job match. It didn't sound like that person was a good fit for you. But we really do try to make a great job match, and we try to bring people in who really are going to be able to do a good job for you. And part of what I try to do is to make sure that they do their job well. So if they're not doing it, I come in and I help out.
How do you do that?
Once we have an individual placed, and then if we observed or you observed that they weren't quite getting it, then I would come in and step in and help that individual learn their job better so that they could become a good employee for you.
Our stylists are doing their own shampooing, cleaning their own areas. We've got a reception. I just don't have anything.
Well, you're sure you're not? We couldn't put something together like you had last time.
Yeah, no, I really don't think so.
Okay, well, I'm really disappointed, but, listen, would you mind if I left you my card and, things change, and so if you have some openings come available, would you give me a call, or could I call you on occasion just to check in?
Sure, why don't you give me your card and
Yeah.
I'll keep that, and if
Sure.
something comes up, I'll let you know.
Yeah. Sorry, got it here somewhere.
Sure.
Great, here you
Okay.
go.
Thank you, I'll show you out.
Great, thanks a lot, I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome. Yeah.
Okay, panel members, this was obviously an early experience in job development for Galen, but we'd like to hear your reactions. Steve, let's start with you.
This is a demonstration that should be familiar to employment specialists who've started to do job development. And I think there are some points in the demonstration that are important to take note of. First, Galen's out in the community doing job development, which is a critical part of effective job development. Second, Galen is trying to talk to the hair salon owner about the benefits of his program and how a person from his program could meet the needs of the hair salon owner. And then finally, it looks like Galen may not have set up an appointment because the hair salon owner seems to be in a bit of a rush.
The lack of
preparation. I think that can communicate a lack of respect in some ways and make the employer wonder about Galen's competence and about the people that he's representing. I think he would have been better served if he'd maybe done a little preparation and research into what the employer did and what the business was at that particular shop. And also if he'd maybe even left some material or something so that the employer could get a little better sense of what their program was about. Also, I was a little taken aback that he showed up in jeans and wasn't in really professional dress. All in all, it communicates that this is a program and an individual who's not quite sure of themselves, and again makes the employer, I think, wonder who are the people he's representing and are they going to do a good job for me as an employer.
Well, the hair salon owner does provide a little information about the work duties at her hair salon, but Galen really doesn't find out what she's looking for when she's hiring people. We do hear about a negative experience that she had at another salon, but we don't really find out what happened. I think it's important for employment specialists really to explore with employers on what their concerns are, and this might have been an opportunity to do it using open-ended questions or simply saying, you know, could you tell me a little bit more about that, would have been helpful for Galen to know about that.
Sure.
I think even with the limited time here, Debbie, there was some chance to explore more, as you point out, that perhaps Galen could have found out more about what that other employment experience was, and he could have maybe found out more about what does it take for an employee to succeed here. I think with a little practice, a little preparation, and usually some learning about some open-ended questions, employment specialists can gather a lot of information, even under limited time, by really working on what are some questions that I might want to use to help me learn about what employees are valued here and what you're looking for in an interview process.
It might also be good for Galen to think through what he wants to do in terms of follow-up with the employer. What are the next steps that he wants to take?
I noticed he did try that here, but he sort of got, it sort of didn't end much with a clear vision of what would go next. And it leaves me sort of wondering what would happen next in this kind of scene. Would there be another contact? Would Galen have another opportunity to find more information? I was kind of left wondering at that.
Sure, as Steve said, this is a first experience, and we've all gone through that, but it's first experiences are to learn from.
Okay, great. Let's go on to the second demonstration, and I think you'll see in this demonstration that Galen now has more experience and is more thoughtful about how he approaches the employer. I'll ask Steve to introduce this demonstration.
Once again, in this demonstration, we see Galen doing job development, this time at an automobile dealership where he has set up an appointment, and we want to look at 4 basic areas of his job development contact. First, that Galen has scheduled an appointment to talk to the automobile dealer. Second, that Galen has done his homework in understanding the needs of the automobile dealership. Third, that Galen will probe for what the needs and wants of the employer are. And fourth and finally, that Galen will promote the services that his program offers to employers like this automobile dealership. Let's look at the demonstration.
Oh, hi, Galen.
Hi, Matt. How you doing?
Nice to see you again.
Good to see you, too.
Why don't you have a chair?
Thanks. Appreciate that.
Before we get started, I just want to mention I haven't had a chance to take a look at that brochure. It's just been a hectic around here this week. So I might have some questions about the service you offer.
Absolutely. I know you're busy. Last week I indicated that the purpose of my call today was to learn a little more about your business and find out about some of the positions that you hire for. Should only take about 20 minutes. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
Matt, I understand that you're the general manager of your dealership.
That's correct.
That is correct. Okay. So could you describe your hiring process at your dealership here?
Well, you know, we have 3 managers underneath me in parts service and sales, and those people largely take care of the hiring in their divisions. We do talk about it at a weekly meeting and make decisions on higher level positions, but the lower level positions are largely hired by these individuals.
All right, so they keep you informed of their hiring decisions that they make
Sure.
for those positions.
Sure.
Okay, great. Well, that's a good segue. Maybe we could talk just a little bit about some of the positions that you do hire for. And obviously, I know you hire salespeople for the floor, and you have office support staff and mechanics, technicians, body shop technicians, etc. Are there positions here at the dealership that I would be less aware of?
Sure, we have the need for people who who wash cars for service customers, who detail cars, and who also prepare cars for delivery. We get about 4 deliveries a day to customers. Those cars, the shrink wrap plastic has to come off, and they have to be washed, gassed, and there's a checklist of some tasks that have to be done. It's not technical, but it does take a couple hours to do that. We also hire people to shuttle customers to work and bring them back at the end of the day after their car has been serviced. And there is a need also for some custodial positions, maintaining the showroom, dusting off cars that have been in snow, and those kinds of things, general maintenance.
So I'm hearing about 5 or 6 different kinds of general skills-based kinds of positions that you described there. It
Yeah,
sounds
these
like.
are largely part-time. I would say, 10 to 20 hours a week, and it may vary by week.
All right. Well, that's great. How's it been for you trying to get people for those kinds of positions?
Generally, it's been a high turnover position. There have been people who've moved up the line, but generally these people don't stay that long. They get a full-time job somewhere else, or they're not satisfied. And we would like to bring in a workforce of people who would stay and be with us in a reliable manner.
That might be an area that I could and my company could be of help to you. Many of the folks that we work with oftentimes are looking for part-time work. They don't necessarily want full-time work. That's because some of these folks have other sources of income. For example, they're receiving some Social Security disability income. So they're quite satisfied with part-time work.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think brings up a topic that I talked to some of the managers with about the disability, especially the mental illness kind of component to it, because we've while we're receptive to having a whole variety of people work here, we've never really employed anybody with a mental illness and don't know the impact on the coworkers, customers, or really what to expect. While we know something about mental illness, we don't know it in a real sense working at the dealership.
Is there anything real specific you'd like to know about that?
Yeah, we're concerned. We're concerned about the impact on our customers. We're running this show to make money and to be good, sell cars and provide service. And we've got to make sure that a worker doesn't detract from that.
It sounds like to me you want to know if they're going to interact in a way that's satisfactory to both your customers and to your employees. And maybe the best way to address that in some sense would be first, of course, just to meet the people through an interview process to get an idea of who they are.
Yeah, we would do that,
of course. Sure. I really don't think that you're going to see a problem. I mean, these are folks that you meet every day on the street in your working life. And one other thing that I'd like to offer you the opportunity to do would be to maybe perhaps, I obviously work with employers throughout the community, some of those folks that you might already know. And I would invite you and hook you up with some of those employers, and you could gain some firsthand knowledge about their experience of what it's like to work with not only the folks that I placed with them, myself and my agency that I represent.
Sure, that would be really fine. I mean, another thing that comes up is, does this person, whoever it might be, do we need to do anything to accommodate this person, make that person comfortable here? Do we have, I'm concerned about what we need to do to make this a success.
Well, to tell you the truth, Matt, I really don't think so. I can't answer that specifically because I don't know exactly what the job duties might be. I normally don't even approach an employer on a second meeting about a potential position, but the timing here seems pretty good on this, and I do have an individual that I think would be a good job match for the kinds of work that you described. Would you like to hear a little bit about this individual?
Sure.
This is a gentleman who's about 35 years old. He hasn't worked in a while, but he does have some pretty good background. He's done some construction work, so he's mechanically oriented. He likes to work with his hands. He likes to work outside. He doesn't want to particularly be too involved with working with the public per se. He's pretty self-directed, and he's extremely motivated. He does have a driver's license, so he could certainly do some shuttle work and driving cars if you needed that. Only wants 10, 15 hours of work at most, although we hope that he might aspire to more than that at some point.
So you're involved in this thing once we hire somebody. I'm not clear about the role of employment. You call it employment specialist. Is
Absolutely,
that it?
yeah, that is correct.
So you're involved after the person is hired in some way.
Absolutely. Our approach is to come in and build relationships with employers and to advocate and provide effective information to the employer to make a good hiring decision. Yeah. If an individual needs some help in moving through their tasks and responsibilities until he knew them well enough to perform them on his own, so that we provide ongoing support, work closely with his supervisor, and my commitment is to make the most successful employee for you as possible. And that goes on for as long as that individual and yourself needs or wants it. Yeah.
Sounds reasonable to us. Yeah. We'd be willing to, take it a step further and see what it would look like.
Well, that would be fabulous. Do you think that we could probably accomplish that next week?
Yeah, I think that would be great. I think, as I indicated before, we want to be good partners in the community, and I think this might be a pretty good match. We're willing to take a look at it and see where it goes.
Great. That would be fantastic. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in.
You bet. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think we can all agree that Galen did a much better job in this demonstration, but I'd like to hear from the panelists about what they noticed.
Absolutely. Galen has really moved forward in his personal career development. He's done his homework. It's very clear he's planned out the visit ahead of time. And he's even talked about leaving some material with the employer ahead of time. Again, communicating a respect for the employer's time and a real interest in doing something that's going to make a good connection between this employer, his agency, and in particular the people that he's serving.
Mm-hmm. Galen also did an excellent job of obtaining information about the dealership, the type of jobs, the work tasks, the hours. He also learned what is needed in terms of part-time, full-time jobs, and most importantly, he talked with the auto dealership owner about his concerns and interest in hiring an individual with mental illness, which was excellent.
And I think both the areas that you just raised really were built on the fact that he probably did some practicing and thinking in advance. Not only was it how to schedule and put it together, but also how to address questions. We noticed that he was very comfortable and presented very understandable information in this demonstration. How do I work with you? What my goals are for a good job match? How can I help you as an employer and at the same time be helpful to the clients that I'm working with? I think that we can see his investment in those areas really start to pay off as he moves this into sort of a much more fluid exchange about information, while at the same time being clear that he's there as a resource to the employer.
Well, and Galen really came in prepared to talk about a specific person. And we noted that he really led with that person's strengths, that this was a person who was mechanically inclined, likes to work outdoors, he doesn't need to be around a lot of people or have customer contact, work part-time. And these are all characteristics that match what the employer was looking for.
And if you notice, Galen also dressed for the situation.
Right.
He had a tie and a dress shirt that matched that work setting, which made him come across as professional to that auto dealership owner.
You know, something that he might have considered is to bring the individual that he was thinking about with him into the interview. This was an example of informational interviewing where they were trying to find out information about the dealership, what goes on there, what the job tasks are. That could have been a way, among other things, to help allay the employer's concerns and frankly, unfamiliarity with people with mental illness, the sense that they're somehow other. It also could have been a good way for that individual to have a pre-interview, as it were, and begin to move forward in the job placement process.
But Galen did have sort of next steps identified.
Sure.
And he was coming back the next week, and he was going to meet with a manager who, does hiring, and so maybe at that point he might think about bringing somebody with him.
And one of the things that I thought he did here, which was a very smooth idea, was to help allay some fears by saying, I'd be glad to give you the names of some of the other people that I work with and some of the clients that I work with. And it's a really nice bridge into the employment community. He's providing references not only in his skills with Job Match, but on the type of employees that some of the people that he's been able to place are doing in terms of the work with their employers.
And since those employers have taken similar risk in hiring people with mental illness that Galen is asking Matt to take, it's a perfect way to help, again, calm down those fears.
Okay, thank you, panelists. That wraps up our module on job development, and the next module that we'll see is on vocational profiling.